What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of my Philadelphia Phillies franchise. And in this video, we're pretty much just going to be going over everything you need to know with the team up through the month of May. And as you can see, we are 32 and 28 so far through this time period. And basically, to sum up the kind of team performance we've had through the first 2 months is basically just a series of runs. As you can see on the screen, we pretty much just go through a period of just getting really hot and really cold. As we had a period kind of in the middle of May where we just ran off at a ridiculous winning streak. I mean, we won like 9-10 games in a row, something like that right there, where we swept the Dodgers, Rockies, and Cardinals. Then, of course, before that was kind of coupled with a little 500 play in between, kind of, and us getting swept by the Braves and losing one of our games to the Rockies. So, I mean, pretty much just a story of streaks in the first month, in the month of May, for us, losing to pretty much our division leader Atlanta and then beating everybody else. Then, of course, in April, it was another story of streaks as we, of course, won the first game, which we all saw in the first episode that had a game in it. But right after that, in the beginning of April, I mean, we really struggled. We lost 4 in a row to start the month, won one game, and then lost a bunch in a row again, and then was kind of mitigated by a few wins in the middle of the season, and then some more losses, but then getting kind of hot towards the end. So again, more kind of streakiness that started off the season, but our streakiness was kind of better as, of course, April was defined by kind of our big losing streak to start the season, and then we had that big winning streak in the middle of May that kind of got us back. And now we're going to go over some stats for our players and see how they're performing. Bryce Harper, he had a really bad start of the season. He was hitting 150 through the course of April. And, of course, batting average is nothing that we really want to look at. But, I mean, when it's that low, I mean, something is definitely wrong. I'd probably chalk it up to that he probably had a pretty bad BABIP. But he's starting to come back. His slugging is now back over 400. I have full confidence that he'll be getting things up. As you can see on the screen, that he's been really hot of recent. So I'd have no problem believing that he's going to be back soon for us. Of course, here just looking again at his stats, 750 OPS. Of course, his career OPS is around 900, and his on base is usually around 400, so I have no doubt he'll return to that. Hoskins, he is a guy who was actually good at the beginning of the season when we were losing a lot of games, and he's kind of regressed a lot of late, slugging barely over 400, not getting on base nearly as much as he would, as you would expect from him. So I'm also kind of expecting that his numbers are going to rebound to only 729 OPS for him. So I'm pretty confident that things will bounce back for him. Gene Segura, at this point, I'm pretty convinced that this is just Segura's kind of career numbers. Of course, he's not really a high OBP guy. He's a pretty high contact free swinger that pretty much swings at everything. I mean, at this point in his career, he's pretty much just a mid 700s OPS guy, mid 4s slugging. Of course, getting some BABIP luck with his average being kind of closer to 300 is kind of the only way he really can have like a great season, like the kind of season he had when his only season is in Arizona. But yeah, so I'm pretty pleased with his performance. JT Realmuto, he's been good for us. Not quite as good as last year, but still OPS over 800. The OBP for him is kind of uncharacteristically high, so that's good to see. Slugging a little bit down, but I'm fine with that. And I hope that he can continue this kind of production. Of course, he's a great two-way player, but of course, in MLB The Show, catcher defensive ratings really mean absolutely nothing besides arm strength to throw out like the 1% of the time when a guy actually tries to steal. But yeah, I mean, his hitting ratings are pretty fine, though, to kind of solidify his value in this game, even though, of course, because of all the lack of like defensive impact, especially in this game, his salary is going to be pretty high, but still worth it because of his bat in this game. Didi Gregorius, he's been having a fantastic year, probably one of our best hitters. Well, he definitely is our second best hitter, at least so far in the year. It's 365 on base, slugging 629, OPS over 1,000, almost over 1,000. Been really good of late. I don't really expect, of course, all of these this big season to continue, but either way, if we're not really in contention and the Braves have kind of already pulled ahead, and if we're not in contention for the wild card spot, he's definitely going to be the first guy to go. I'll say that right now because he's, of course, on a 1-year deal. So there'd be no guarantee that he'd be back for next season anyway. So he's definitely going to be the first guy that we'd move if we are not in contention near the trade deadline. Scott Kingery is the next guy in the starting lineup. Of course, want to go over not that great of a season from Kingery, especially compared to his last year's stats. On base is up for him, over 330, which is nice to see, but he's really not hitting for the same power that he did last year. 380 slugging, OPS just over 700, and of course, Kingery's career is kind of up in the air at this point, as of course he had a really awful 2018, and then of course had that resurgent 19 where he was really hot, like ungodly hot, kind of until June came around where he really started to struggle. So it's kind of up in the air on what he's going to be at this point, but I honestly don't really have that much faith in his bat at least, but I still think he can be a valuable guy. Adam Hazley's up next, and he's been really bad so far in his starting job at center field. If we somehow are still in contention at the trade deadline, another outfielder would for sure be a guy, someone that we would get unless he improves his numbers. But yeah, his OPS is 625, slugging under 300. Not very good for him. Now, Andrew McCutchen is a guy who has been absolutely on fire ever since he got back from his ACL injury. And I mean absolutely on fire. Hitting 361, OBP of 446, slugging 684. OPS is 1.1. I mean, he's having a fantastic season for us so far. He's exceeded every expectation that I have had for him, and he's just having an absolute fantastic season for us. Definitely been one of our most valuable guys this year. Logan Forsythe is another guy. As we sort of get into the kind of bench guys that we have now, he's had 100 at-bats, which is the most of all the bench players so far, and he's been good in that time. 400 OBP, 420 slugging. So yeah, he's been good for us. Neil Walker has also been pretty good. Not as many at bats, but still high 700 OPS for him. And Roman Quinn, again, kind of a more center field struggles. 500 OPS in the 500s, slugging under 300. We don't really have many more people, especially guys who can play center field in the minors. So we're kind of stuck at center field with Hazley and Quinn. So we just kind of got to hope that these guys play better until we could kind of address these needs closer to the trade deadline. And Jay Bruce has been really bad, and Andrew Knapp has been good in his limited backup catcher appearances. Now getting into pitching, I'm kind of looking at how these guys have been playing so far. And yeah, so pretty much all these guys at the top are subject to be sent down. I know I'm probably going to send down one because I plan on bringing Sir Anthony Dominguez back up because I feel like now is kind of a realistic time to bring him up given his injury timeline that he had in real life. But yeah, Vince Velasquez, FIP over 6, about 20 innings. Same with Victor Arano. Arano kind of started the season off really rough, but he's kind of coming back down now. So if anyone gets sent down, it'll probably be Velasquez out of the bullpen at least. Zach Eflin, FIP over 5, and of course we do have Spencer Howard waiting in the wings. So as we move along a little bit in this season, I'm sure that we'll want to give Spencer Howard a chance over a guy like Eflin probably. Nick Pivetta, he's gotten a ton of innings at the long reliever spot for some reason because I don't believe the show's kind of broken with long relievers. So he's had a lot of innings so far. Robert Stock has been okay. So far this season, of course, his ERA is really high, but of course, for reliever, ERA is not really good statistic to evaluate their performance. So that 4.38 FIP is definitely fine with me, and he's definitely still going to be on the team. Ranger Suarez, kind of mid-4s FIP. He's been pretty decent back of the rotation starter for us. No plans to kind of do anything with him as of this point. Aaron Nola. He's been okay so far through this point. Still, again, low 3 ERA, but FIP over 4. Kind of expected with a guy who's more of a ground ball pitcher, and of course not getting as many strikeouts as a lot of other guys would get. So that's kind of why his FIP's a little high, but still pleased with his performance. Hector Neris, he's been fine for us. Zach Wheeler also been fine for us. Adam Morgan, he's been a good lefty reliever out of the pen for us this year. Can't be too disappointed with the kind of Wheeler Nola guys. They are getting hot of recent, so their performance will probably get better from here and hopefully carry on kind of throughout the rest of the season. Jarek Garrietta has actually been a pretty big surprise for me in this save. ERA in the mid 3s and FIP of 4, which kind of replicates that performance that he had in his first year with Philly. The best days of his career are definitely over. Definitely over, but with his $25 million a year contract, there's absolutely no way anyone would take him at the trade deadline, and it would be so unrealistic to kind of move him. In real life, this year is an opt-out in his contract, or a team opt-out, a team option, because I believe there would be 2 more years under that contract, but I don't know how it works out at MLB The Show because contracts are always whack and don't really replicate the real life contract. But either way, he won't be back in that contract. We would not opt into it as a team, so it's kind of good to see him kind of performing well, because that's really all we can hope for, is getting some good production out of him. Edgar Garcia has probably been our best righty reliever this year. Really low 2 ERA, but FIP in the mid 3s, so he's been really good. Kind of pleased with our young right-hander here. Has been good for us so far. And then the last reliever is Jose Alvarez, who's only gotten 10 innings because MLB The Show is incapable of handling 13 guys in the pitching staff of the Major League Club, because they didn't address it for whatever reason, because everyone knew the rosters were expanding to 26 this year and 13 people would have to be in the pitching staff of the major leagues. But of course, MLB The Show didn't address anything in franchise mode, so we might just go 12 men in the pitching staff, which would be 7 men in the bullpen, because it seems like MLB The Show really can't handle any more effectively, because one guy is always going to be the odd man out and get 10 innings, while Nick Pivetta already has 40 innings and almost has as many innings as most of our starters have pitched. And then here, I'm just going to kind of scroll through the league leaders as I kind of just talk about where we're going as a team a little bit. So, of course, right now we're around 500, 32 and 28, I believe. So things aren't really boding that well for us for contending this year. So we'll probably be trading guys at the deadline, but the really only piece that we have that's tradable at this point is Didi Gregorius, because he's the only guy who's really on an expiring deal. Probably at some point, if we're not contending, I'll move guys like Logan Forsythe and possibly Jay Bruce, and that's really only because of kind of a MLB The Show contract mess up, because both of them, Logan Forsythe this year was on a minor league deal, so he probably was going to make the veteran league minimum. But in this game, of course, he's on $8 million salary per year, which is I think what he made last year. But because of course MLB The Show didn't update it, he's still making that for some reason. So of course it's really unrealistic, and I don't want to pay him and that much. And as of now, our budget is negative, so we're losing money each week. And same thing with Jay Bruce, that his contract is around $13 million, but in real life the Phillies are really only paying 1 or 2, I think. But again, that's going to do it for this episode. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in next episode.